Yes, recording's in progress. Okay, welcome. This is class number 5. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's where we are. We're doing chapter 5, which is equipment, talking about batteries and all that sort of good stuff. And let's see, one other thing I want to get. You might as well do the chapter 5 and go over some stuff. All right. Okay, first question is, does anyone have any questions from either what you've read or from what we've talked about? No, you wake up gasping, gee, I don't know whether it's AC or DC or whatever the heck. No? Well, okay.
Nah, the electronics is familiar to me. So chapter, what was it, 2? The electronics one was kind of easier for me, surprisingly.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, when we talk about some of the digital modes, things of that sort, might get into areas that you might not have encountered yet. We have, was it K1JT, who is, I think, one of our only Nobel Prize winners, but he started coming up with all sorts of digital modes and came up with some very amazing stuff. All right. Let's see. Let's go to okay. Now I'm going to start sharing a little bit, I think. Share screen. Okay. Okay. Okay, we're talking about amateur radio equipment, and what we're doing, we're making very complex alternating current types of things going on in our cables. They don't become radio waves until they hit the antenna. But in the meantime, what are we doing? We can send things. We can send a radio signal out, but what good is it unless it has some information attached to it? So, a radio carrier, and there are quite a few radio carriers out there. If you turn on a shortwave radio, and there's no information, nothing going on. Sometimes when you add information, you can make sense of it. For instance, the easiest way is to make that radio signal, make that call it carrier that's just sitting there. You can turn it on and off. For instance, let's get some volume. Oh, battery's gone. Hear that, anyone? No? Oh, well. Okay. Anyone hear that? Nobody hear? Geez.
No, it's because it's Zoom. Zoom is filtering out all of the background noise, so it thinks
Well, I wish I could get it out. Well, okay, I'll whistle it. I'll whistle it. Da, dit, da, dit, da, da, dit, da. Take that carrier wave and make it do something. And I'm sending da, dit, is telegraphy. The old telegraphers would recognize that as the letter C. If I do da 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 is Q. So I'd be sending CQ. So just by turning it on and off, I can make signals known. So here's the nitty gritty. A dash or da, we call them das. The da is 3 times as long as the dit or the dot. So dit, da. And then by heterodyning or mixing signals. Now we talked about mixing signals before, mixing 28 megahertz with 116 megahertz to get 144. Well, we can do it on a lower level and add voice to a carrier. And there's a couple ways of combining it. One way is called amplitude modulation, which is what you hear when you turn on your AM car radio, because the volume goes up and down according to the kind of modulation, the kind of voice signal that you add to the carrier wave. Okay, so that's one way of adding information. Fellow in I think it was 1905, actually did that. He took a carrier. It was produced by an alternator, and he added a microphone to the antenna, and he had to water cool the microphone with a constant flow of water, otherwise the thing would have burned out. And he entertained guys on shipboard up and down the Atlantic coast with Christmas greetings, and played a violin, recited poetry. And it wasn't until quite a few years later that the first broadcast station, KDKA in Pittsburgh, actually did the same thing. Okay, so Morse code could be called amplitude modulation because it goes from 0 to the whole signal. All right. And what happens, they're talking about an AM signal is made up of 3 separate signals, a carrier and 2 sidebands. What the sideband, okay, here it is. The carrier, if you go to WWJ, WJR, or whatever AM station you like, there is the carrier, and then mixed in with the carrier are the 2 voice portions. We can use either one. These are called sidebands, and each of these has the same information. So by using filters, we can actually get rid of the carrier and still have radio energy on that frequency with the information. We can also use filters. We're using something a little more sophisticated than coils and capacitors on this, and actually filter out either the upper sideband or the lower sideband. And when you have one sideband, all the information is concentrated in that, all your power is concentrated in that, and it's quite a bit more efficient. And it takes up a lot less space because you don't have this voice sideband and you don't have the carrier. Okay, that's what they did here. Now, there's a convention with hams that if you're going below 10 megahertz, if you're operating below 10 megahertz, use lower sideband. And if you're operating above 10 megahertz, you use upper sideband. commercial airlines and military always use the upper sideband. And there's one band, the 60-meter band, or 5 points something megahertz, which has channels, and they always use upper sideband as well. Okay, now, all right, let's get to
Now with sidebands, is it always like in the picture that you showed 800 kilohertz on each side, or does that sort of depend on what you're using, what the frequency is?
it's what you're using, what the frequency is, because AM broadcast radio has let's see, I think it's 6 kilohertz width. So well, let's go back to here's, so 797 to 803. So it's 3 on each side of the carrier. And with us, it's let's see, is it runs? It's close to 6 kilohertz actually. The 3 kilohertz is the width of a single sideband. Okay, let me get back to this. I'll stop the share, start it again. And where did it go? All right, I'm going to try to get this one out.
We don't hear that, but when you share your screen,
Yeah,
at the bottom left of that little pop-up, there's a little checkbox that says share sound or share audio. You have to make sure that that's checked so it'll pass through any audio and like videos or recordings they have going. So they might
really?
have to like stop recording, hit share screen, but make sure before you hit that little blue done button or okay button, you hit share sound.
Advanced sharing options.
Here, let me see if I can't bring it up. Oh,
Oh, here, yeah, I see the share sound thing. Okay,
there we go.
there I go. Okay. All right, let's try it again.
Still no sound.
Okay, did you get that? No?
No, I thought I heard it popping at first, but no, turns out it was no sound.
Okay, let me try it one more time. And
Never feel bad because every one of these platforms are different and they seem to change all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like every
Oh, yeah.
couple weeks, it seems like they're doing something different. So never feel bad about trying to figure it out.
okay. All right, I have this on now. We'll see if I can. Files. No. Basic whiteboard, iPhone, Kindle, share sound. And all right, let's see about this one now.
Yes.
It's been kind of spotty. Quickly chew a lot of fat here just amongst the guy here in the room. So
Okay, so what you just heard, back in the 1950s and 60s, there was a big war going on about single sideband versus AM radio, and the original hams were using AM all the time, and when this new type of technology came through, there's a lot of resistance, and they called single sideband duck talk because it sort of sounded like muffled ducks talking, because you had to turn on what's called a beat frequency oscillator, the switch that you'd turn on to listen to code to be able to make any sense out of it. But later on, single sideband, because of the space saving, was the more power that was put into just the one part of the signal actually ended up succeeding. Although AM does sound better, and there are still some diehards who operate on 75 meters and 10 meters that I know of. Okay. There's another way of doing things, and it's based on another technology. Can you hear this?
Yep, can hear that.
Okay. Anyone identify what that is? They used to play it
Sounded
on
like a car engine.
Was that a Dodge?
No, not quite. It was actually a mechanical typewriter called a teletype machine, and they were originally designed for using lines, telegraph lines, or telephone lines, and it was a machine that used a kind of switching code to type the letters on this automatic typewriter. I guess during the war, Second World War, they decided to use that for radio, so he came up with this. Now you can hear two tones, and that's the characteristic of a teletype signal. It's still being used. My IC 7300 actually has a pretty good detector, and will directly read teletype signals, but it's getting a little on the old side. So what it does, it switches frequencies. The two tones are an upper and lower. I think they're separated by about 170 hertz or thereabouts. It's not that much, but that's still being used. Now, with the advent of the sound card in a computer, the sound that's very, very sophisticated stuff, and did away with a lot of circuitry, a lot of expensive circuitry that's some of the high-end radio manufacturers had to put in to separate out signals and actually produce signals. So let's see, what do we have here? Okay, so we've got okay, why do I have two of those? Okay, so we have certain digital modes which are even more sophisticated than teletype. They actually, in some of them, like this one, which is called PSK, when you send something, the receiving station will pick it up, and if they didn't get the entire message, it will ask for corrections. That's one of the neatest things. So it sounds something like this. It's a combination of AM and FM. Oh, stop. Okay.
I don't know what all this trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault.
Okay. So
That was C3PO.
yes, he always horns in. Okay, but with this error correction, you can get information out pretty easily. All right, let's get out of this and talk about some of the other things that are in there. Okay. Now, okay. Where'd it go? Here it is. Okay, with PSK, you can put something like more than 20 signals in the same space as a single sideband signal, voice signal. And what it does, this is a waterfall. Are all of you familiar with waterfalls? No? This is the new way of showing signals. It'll I'll give you a picture a little later of my IC7300, which has a waterfall display all the way along the frequency spectrum. You can see where the signals are, and you can just click and go to the signal you want, or you can just touch it as a touch screen. But anyway, these are a bunch of stations that are talking, and up here, here's a conversation, and when he's finished talking, you can switch over and type on in this section of the screen. There's software. I use it. This is called Digital Master. It's part of the it's part of Ham Radio Deluxe, which is a $90 program that you can buy that does just about everything. Has a logbook in there, and it's also got a way of operating your radio, and I'll get to that in a little bit. All right.
So Jerry, are you saying you type in and then it feeds that into a channel and sends it out?
Yep. Yep. And you can select which one. If you want to talk to this guy, you put this little marker on that guy's channel and start talking to him.
And when he's talking, it'll come across your display with what he's saying, and then you just type back.
This is what he's doing. Yep.
Very neat.
It's very neat. With this one, you can actually have conversations. It's fairly slow, but you can have some conversations with the guy. It's not as if you're actually talking to him on the microphone, but it's a little more dependable. It'll get through where voice can't.
So I assume being kind of a slower technology, it's just text only, probably not images, definitely not voice.
Definitely not voice, not images.
Okay.
There's other stuff for that, but that's what it's for. Now, let's get out of that, and
So your radio is actually listening on all those frequencies, and then it displays which ones are currently talking, and that's how you dial in. Is that right?
absolutely.
That's neat.
Okay, let's see where okay, let's see, is that FT8? Media player. Okay, let's see if I can get this going. PSK display. Not yet. Hang on, let me try it again.
Since it's slower, how often do you have to or put in your license number to confirm who you're, like, don't you have to, there's something like you have to put your name in every so often, right?
10 minutes. Okay, now.
Yeah,
All right.
we did hear that. We did hear that, Jerry. The FT8 or FT7, whichever, or 4,
Yeah.
whatever that was.
Okay, the thing is, I want you to see it. Okay, share screen. And my goodness. Okay, hang on a sec. Okay, one more time.
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay. Now, this is called FT8. And the beauty of this, well, first of all, the thing is it's very, very slow. It doesn't give you very much in the way of details. You can just say, hi, this is my signal. You are so strong, so much strength, and do you receive me? And the guy will reply, yes, I heard. No, I heard you. This is your signal strength, and no, so it's a confirmed contact, but no, there's no personality to it. Now the thing is, you can pick up signals that are way below the noise. You can't even hear the signal, but the computer picks it up for you. This takes about the same distance, same amount of space of the 3 kilohertz as a sideband signal. And once you get onto the bands, like what is it, 28.074. You'll be able to hear signals like this. I don't believe you are licensed to operate on that yet until you get your general. I think you have just voice privileges on the 10 meter band, but anyway, that's something to look forward to. So this is the kind of thing that's Taylor K1JT developed, and there are any number of different kinds of signals, clover, and there's even something called Hellschreiber, which the signal looks as if you're writing on parchment paper, thereabouts. And these are the standard ones. This is the one. FT8 is the hottest one now. They have some that are developed for some of these types of signals are developed for moon bounce or meteor trails. Okay, let's get out of that. Here's. Okay. Let me get back here and. Um, Get okay, anyone see this? Oh,
Yep.
okay,
Yep, we can see it.
okay. This is a popular popular type of software. And okay, what you have up here is waterfall display all along that 3 kilohertz segment, and you can see different signals of different strengths. This is barely detectable. This is stronger. This is very strong, and comes up to the guy blanked out the call letters, but here's the time. And you have to have a special program that will give you exact time for your computer, because this comes in some like 15-second bursts. And you can see some of these guys are calling stations. You are something, yeah, KX 8UUU or something of that sort. These guys are calling CQ. And what you do, you click on it, and it'll come over to this section. And at this section, you can start transmitting and receiving, and it's all automated. This was set up for 24.915, which is a standard frequency for the FT8. So it says, hello, how are you? Hello, your strength is and such. Did you hear me? Yes, I heard you. Your strength is so and so. Thank you. And that's it. And that's a credit you can use towards working all states or getting your 100 DX contacts for DXCC or whatever. So this is pretty much some of what we do on the HF bands. Okay, any questions? Okay, I'm gonna get out of that. And all right, where's my, here it is. Okay, everybody see this? Typical transceiver. I picked this one because I've got it. I've had it since 2004. And what are the innards? What do these things do? It's, first of all, it's a transceiver. Second of all, it actually works on 3 bands. You can see 144 and 70 centimeters. It also does 6 meters. And the antenna has a loading coil on the top to use it. It's very inefficient, but no, compromise. Could probably stop a bullet and still operate. Not only will it I'll pick up these 3 ham bands, but it will also pick up FM broadcast radio, AM broadcast radio, aircraft, and AM shortwave. So if you want to listen to Voice of America or Radio Peking or Beijing, I guess they call it now, or Radio Havana, Cuba, then this will do it for you. You should get a better antenna than this. Okay. Now, this thing is, well, it has the radio frequency circuitry in it, but it's mostly computer. It's got several hundred memories, and you can stack them up in all sorts of configurations. There is software that you can actually either punch in all the information, the frequency, the frequency offsets, the any tone access, all that sort of stuff. You can either punch it in, or else the software will give you a spreadsheet where you can just fill it in, and it will populate your the computer inside the transceiver with all that stuff. So channel 1 can be your favorite one. Like I have the Dart repeater as channel 1. Channel 2 is probably the ARPS-C, the emergency management, and so on and so forth. Oh, it also picks up 162.55 or all those weather station things. So it's pretty good. It's got squelch built in, and you can adjust it. The problem is that most of these things are now menu driven, so you have to know which button to push to find out what you want to do. Like one of these, you punch the right buttons, and one of these knobs will go through something like 36 different choices, frequency offsets, amount of power, this, that. So you have to, pretty much, it's labor intensive. Learning curve is pretty big. Okay, any questions so far? And this is typical of most of the HTs that you're going to buy. This one was a fairly expensive one. Now they've got them, well, even more expensive. It depends. I know that some places like I think Yaesu has a cheap one for under $100. Gigaparts and DX Engineering are selling a basic dual bander for under $100, in $50 to $75 class, and just gets you on the air. This gets you onto FM radio, and I didn't explain FM radio, did I? With AM radio, you're adjusting the amplitude or strength of the signal as you talk. With FM radio, what you're doing is you're sitting on a frequency, the carrier's on a frequency, and as you talk, the frequency shifts, it wibble wobbles as you talk. Now here's where there's a big difference between hams and say FM broadcast. FM broadcast will what's the bandwidth on that, Bob? Do you remember?
FM broadcast?
FM broadcast.
Isn't that like 15 megahertz? It's pretty big.
It's pretty big, so you can get high fidelity on that. But here we're limited to standardized for at around 12 kilohertz. Wibble wobble like that. But it works pretty well for us.
So looking back at that radio spectrum chart, like I see almost looks like it's maybe 200 megahertz in VHF is where FM is. And then AM is, I'm going to guess, Look, it's definitely above 300 kilohertz. But is it just those are what they're regulated for, or could you technically do AM or FM within any of the bands?
Well, there are certain, well, the FCC has limited us to using code and no, code, digital, and voice in certain parts of the band. Like,
Okay, so it's just sort of like where we're authorized to use it, but you, I guess, frequency modulate like FM and AM, that type of modulation could work outside of those areas, like in other like HF if you wanted to, or if you could technically.
Yeah, well, Mike will probably talk a lot about that when we get into the way the bands are divided up, sort of by
Okay.
gentlemen's agreements. That's outside the FCC purview. Now, for instance, there's like the first 100 kilohertz, I think it is, of the 2-meter band. It's used for a weak signal or CW and single sideband type stuff. And there's a section that's reserved for satellites. But that's all pretty much gentlemen's agreements type of thing that we've gone through. So hopefully not with too many wars. Okay.
Yeah,
so,
that FM broadcast, it's 150 kilohertz,
yeah, so
which
that's
is
for
huge
that's
compared
for
to,
each channel.
yeah.
So that should do the audio spectrum for us. And there's enough room for some stuff. I remember getting a radio at a garage sale, and it used a sub-band within that 150 kilohertz, and they were broadcasting information just for doctors. You know, ads for drugs, and here's the newest technique for straightening out a broken toenail, or things like that. Stuff that's of not vital interest to anybody but doctors. Okay. Anything else on this? All right. Let's get this out. And all right. Share screen. Share screen with here, Kimmy. Okay. Now, okay. Well, here's the combination of voice and a carrier. Here's the carrier, no modulation at all. And when you put the voice in, you can see how the frequency wibble wobbles as you put your voice in. Now there are other signals like packet radio, which is, I would think it's almost on its way out. It's a very ancient type of digital modulation. I guess there's still a packet network going around the area, but I don't know of very many people who use it. All right, bandwidth. Let's see, do we have, no, we don't have a chart. Well, we have a chart, but we don't have anything written. All right, here's the deal. The narrowest stuff would be the digital, or like CW, PSK, things like that. Single sideband voice, 2 to 3 kilohertz. AM voice, 6 kilohertz. Fast scan TV, there's still some people who use that. You can only do that above 440 megahertz on the 70 centimeter band, because that is wide. There's a lot of territory up in the higher frequencies. FM voice, 10 to 15 kilohertz, standardized at 12. And commercial video is 6 megahertz. So that's very, very high. Okay. Now, all right. Quadrature. All right, so something that we're getting into. You've probably heard of D-Star and Fusion and things of that sort. And what they're doing with that, they are time sharing. No, as I'm talking, there's plenty of space in between my voice and silence. So what some geniuses decided to do was to slice our signals digitally into little sections. So every 30th of their little slice would put my voice in, and it might be someone else's voice, and so on and so forth. It takes a pretty accurate clock to be able to slice and dice in that way. But you can share a channel with quite a few people, and that's what the D-Star and all of these other things do. Now the problem is when I send you my what every young ham should know work, is that everybody has their own proprietary way. It's like let's sell a camera, and people will only be able to buy film from us because the holder is patented. So let's make a radio, and people will have to buy our radio because they can't communicate with somebody else's radio because we have the patent. Now, some people are going to say, "Oh, we can figure it out," and yes, you can figure it out. My friend Hugh has all these little modules that he buys or builds, which will convert D-Star to some other mode. But in the meantime, you have to find out who is using what. Like Oakland County uses a certain type of digital mode, find out what they use and buy a radio for that. Otherwise, you may have some problems in talking to people. There aren't very many D-Star repeaters around the area, and if you can't get into a repeater, then you're stuck unless you start going into voice over internet protocol thereabouts, and that's yet another thing that we go in there. All right, questions on that? Okay. Oh, here, 10 meters. Voice must be narrowband. There aren't very many 10-meter repeaters in the state of Michigan. I've checked because I tried using it on my radios. There is a guy who I guess he just has his radio on all the time, 29.6 something, and if I say no, this is W9NPI listening, then he'll respond. Okay. Let's see, anything else? Question, you guys are, well, your first mistake is believing everything I say. Then what? Okay, so yeah, ask me questions, come on. Now my neighbor bought, gosh, yeah, I forget what the thing was. It's usually used by police and fire departments and things of that sort. But he bought one of those things, and he was able to get through on the internet, and he speaks fluent Spanish, so he started going up and down the coast. And when he ended up in Panama, he found a repeater that he could get into. And what are you doing here? Get out! So that's it. Sometimes you'll find things. All right. They're talking about something else called MeshNet. Now, MeshNet is actually using routers, our regular computer routers, on ham frequencies. We have a couple of frequency assignments where we can actually jack the router into operating on our frequencies. Got to do it with a ham radio license. And by setting up a mesh net, Mike, I think Warren has something like that covering the entire county, if I'm not mistaken. Mike, you there? No, but no, you can set up something so only hams can use
Just
it.
trying to get it to come off mute.
Oh,
Yeah, but I'm not aware of the mesh net. I really only use the Warren repeater, and he may have something mesh, but I don't know.
okay. But anyway, it's an extra bonus for us because we can use these things for our own communications because we have the license and because the FCC has given us the freedom to experiment. Okay. Must be about the 60th or 70th junk telephone call I've gotten today. No. All right. Okay. Transceivers. All right, let me get into that, of course. Okay. Share. Here it is. Okay. Again, it's a typical type of transceiver. And no, this one's does HF to 6 meters. So it has at least 2 bands that you can operate on. 10 meter single sideband area, or the 6 meter band where you have full privileges. It's not very heavy. It's what, about 4 pounds, something like that. And it's got an awful lot of stuff in this little package. So it puts out 100 watts in all the bands. It's AM, CW, FM, sideband, both upper and lower. And as a special bonus, it'll transmit radio teletype on its own. You don't have to buy software for it, but most people do. This is the display, and it will cover an entire band, or you can narrow it down to say, this one is up and down 100 kilohertz. Here's the center frequency. So this will go up to, I guess, 7075, or down to, well, goes down below where we can operate. But anyway, it shows you the various signals that are on. And with this, all you have to do is push your finger on the frequency on the signal you want, and it'll go there pretty close. They're going to talk about things. It's got a squelch in there, although you don't really use it very much on HF. And it has two ways of adjusting your signal strength. One is actually increasing or decreasing the sensitivity of the radio. That's the RF section. That's the outer ring of this volume control. And the inner one is simply a volume control. It has a preamp, which actually is a kind of booster, makes the radio much more sensitive. It has 2 stages of that, 0, 1, and 2. And when you get up to 2, it amplifies everything, including the noise. So this screen, you can see the contrast between the signal and the and nothing. The screen sort of gets all blue, and it's harder to see the signal because the noise is amplified quite a bit. It has a noise blanker for static, and a noise reducer, which I guess takes care of some of the atmospheric noise or thereabouts. If there is a carrier signal, like on the 40-meter band, especially up in the voice area, we share that with international broadcast stations. So if there's a carrier signal that's going on and on and on, you can use a notch, which will phase that out. As I say, the technology they use now, using computer filtering from the sound cards, is just amazing. I think it was, I'm not sure whether I was telling Mike or no, I was telling someone else. The stuff I used to drool about, the Collins radios that were produced back in the 1950s and 60s, which were the cream of the cream back then. These guys just run rings around them. Okay. This thing has a built-in keyer, which means that you can send Morse code with a special paddle. It'll make the automatic dots and dashes, or dits and dots. Also has Vox. You can either push your microphone button, or if you talk into the microphone, this will react and turn on. Or with the break-in keying is pretty much the same thing. If you press the key, it'll automatically start transmitting. And when you stop transmitting, stop pressing, it'll go back to receive. So it's got quite a bit of stuff. The thing that I like and I hate about it is the fact that you can make an automatic radio out of it. It has a voice recorder, and it also has a Morse code recorder. So by pushing the right buttons, I've been complaining about it, but I'm getting addicted to it. By pushing the right buttons, I get onto a station, a foreign station. I push the button, and my voice says, W9NPI, W9NPI, many times as I want to push the button. So I hear the guy, the distant stations, W9 who? W9NPI, W9N what? W9NPI, until I finally get him. Then I push the second button after he says, all right, W9NPI, you're 5 and 9 in Nepal or wherever. I push the other button and it says, thank you, you're 5 and 9 in Michigan. And the USO is completed. Not much sport to that, but that's what you got.
So Jerry, just being completely ignorant about this, how do you know what channels you're going to be able to just talk to people on, and which ones you would do something like that where you just make contact?
Well, all right. I don't know if you can see this thing. Well, you got a copy of this in your.
It's a little blurry. Move it.
I see it's a little blurry. Let let me get it, let me see if I can, get that working a little better.
But you were gonna say we've got a copy of this somewhere?
In the manual,
Where at?
Let me take a quick look. I can find it pretty quick, I'll bet.
yeah.
I
That'll
think
probably
that's
help.
1-22, chapter 1.
Mhm. Okay, it's color coded. It tells you what frequency you have. The different colors are the license classes and modes. So you can see here that's on 17 meters, 18.068 to 18.168. There's no space for there's no space at all for technicians or novices. You go down to 15 meters, they give you a little space, 21.025 to 21.20, where you can play CW with your key, or go up to 10 meters, and you have code and voice. 28 to 28.3. You can use code, and 28.3 to 28.5. You can use voice. So that gives you all the frequency assignments, and of course anything above 6 meters and above, you have full privileges. So you can run your kilowatts and run fast scan TV and anything else you want to do. Okay, that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I'm getting there.
We'll dig into that a little deeper in chapter 7, I think it is.
Okay, all right, I won't worry then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that you can even Google, it's called a band plan, and you can look up the US band plan and get nice color charts and stuff for what's out there.
And just because you can hear some Canadians on certain frequencies doesn't mean that you can talk to them, because other jurisdictions have other rules, and you'll find a lot of Spanish speaking people down where we are restricted to using digital and Morse code. So. Okay, one other thing that they do, we operate split frequencies. I didn't explain that on the HTs. When we're working with a repeater, we're transmitting on one frequency and receiving on another frequency. And when we push the push to talk button, it automatically switches the frequency. But we have to set that up. But for instance, when we transmit with the DART repeater, we're receiving on 146.64. But when we transmit, we're transmitting at 146.04. 600 kilohertz separation. Here too, when you're working rare stations, DX stations, if the guy is on one frequency, he doesn't want 200 guys talking to him, calling him on the same frequency, because they keep on talking and talking when he wants to transmit. So what he will say is, all right, I'm listening up 3 or up 5 or something like that, which means that you split your transmitter and receiver on your rig here. So you would receive him, see, on 7.025 and transmit on 7.2027. or thereabouts. And no, you have actually two transceivers in here, and it will do that.
How does that differ from upper and lower sideband?
Quite a bit. The upper and lower sideband is built into the voice signal. What you're doing is receiving on one frequency and transmitting on another frequency.
No, that makes sense now. Sorry.
No, I keep thinking of the Talking Heads and their album "Stop Making Sense." But anyway, thank you. Okay.
Jerry, I just sent out a color version of the band plans to all the class
Great.
because it's easier to read than the black and white version in the book.
Well, I wish I could do that too, but I'm red-green colorblind, so I can't trust my vision. Okay. One other thing that's they do here on the HF bands, there are filters, and you push this button, and what it will do is widen or narrow the amount of bands that you can listen to. If you're listening to one station and there's another guy right next to him, you can actually filter most of them out. And I'll just like put a blinder right over here, so you can't hear what's going on over there, but just hear what he's saying. So that's one good thing. One other thing to know about when you're doing FM radio, there's it's what's called a capture type of detection. The stronger the signal, the strongest signal is the one that's heard. So, Jeremy, if you and I are on the same frequency talking together, the radio is only going to hear whichever one of us is stronger. I'm hoping that when we talk about operating, at 8 o'clock every Thursday, the Oakland County ARPS CMNet, the Emergency Management Net, goes on, and you'll hear, there's a net control, and he'll ask people to check in, and some guys will double on each other. So they came to a kind of arrangement on how to transmit and make sure that they're the ones that people are listening to. So we can get to that much later on. Okay. Something else that's kind of neat. I think it's only for CW signals though. This is called auto tune, and what it means is that you press the button, and if you're listening to a CW signal, the radio will automatically zero in on the guy. So that's a nice thing to have. Tuner. We were talking about tuners a few weeks ago. A lot of the radios in this class, this is a $1,000 class, have a built-in antenna tuner, or, well, we know it's not an antenna tuner, just an antenna. It's a transmitter satisfier. It has a very small range. If you have an SWR of 3-to-1 or less, it will tune it. It will make your transmitter happy. Anything above that, it won't do it. There's some kind of an emergency circuitry in there. If you reduce the power way down, it will actually work on almost any antenna. But your best bet when you're buying one of these things, there's a company called LDG, and there's a Z100 model antenna matcher that they sell for less than $200, and it handles anything up to a 10-to-1 SWR, which I'd recommend that.
That's the one that I just got. It does work well.
Mhm. Yeah, and no, it gets it's almost automatic. That way, if you push the button, it'll tune it by itself. You can go to MFJ or any of the radio stores, and they have the ones with dials and meters and stuff like that. But yeah, make life easy on here. Okay, questions? All right.
So I do have one question. When we get our license,
Yes.
I'd like to get something set up at my home. Is there, so this might be frowned upon, I don't know. Are there any resources that can you purchase service to help you set something up, or is that kind of frowned upon in the ham community? Or like, what's the best way to get, something where you get your first rig and you kind of just understand what you're doing?
That's what your friends in the club are all about.
So it is, it's about the people that you're
Yeah,
with.
especially like Hazel Park, it's one of the reasons I joined this club. You ask a question and you got 6 people that are willing to help you.
Right. Well,
It's really pretty cool.
yeah, I'll tell you, my daughter in Denver enrolled in our course about 2.5 years ago. She got her technician. A couple of months later, she got her general. She asked me, Dad, what should I buy? And I said, Denver has a ham radio outlet store. Go over there and give me a call.
Over
So she went over there, gave me a call. She was sitting at a table. They had some sample stations set up. She was sitting at a table with my radio, the 7300, and we were both listening to some station down in Texas. And she bought it. And no, she bought. No, they advised her. No, the guys are pretty much righteous over at Ham Radio Outlets and DX Engineering. No, they still want to sell you something, but they're not going to just mislead you or anything of that sort. So anyway, she got the stuff I suggested, and then she said, "How are we going to put it together?" She joined a radio club there, told someone about her problems, and one weekend, 2 guys show up at her door. We're the A team. They crawled up on her garage, set up an antenna, drilled holes in the right places, hooked everything up, made a contact, and then handed her the mic. I'd like to see our club be able to do that. But there are some younger guys. I'm not allowed to go on the roof anymore, but there are some younger guys who have done things as long as it's not too dangerous.
Just setting up your first station, you don't need anything big and exotic necessarily. Depending on what you're thinking and what you're doing. A lot of the hams that I've talked to started with this, and then a year or 2 later learned a little more, and I want to go here now. And so then they got that. And then a couple of years later, they said, I now have and so they got something bigger and better. And so, as they went along, they got different things. My first radio was just a little handheld Waxon Japanese radio. It worked just fine for what I needed. And then when I really started trying to use the hobby, I had a friend that was selling a mobile Kenwood. I bought that. I put it on my desk in my office. On the far side of my office, I put an antenna up in my office and started transmitting. So, you can go easy or you can go hard. You can spend a lot of money or you can spend a little money. It all depends on you and what you want to do and where you want to go.
I think my biggest concern is the antenna on the house. It's like, I think that's everything else, I think once I get the wire into the house, I think I'll be able to muddle through it with everyone's help and everything, but like putting up a professional antenna, I think is at least for the first time, like, I'm sure I'm gonna play and I'm gonna have all kinds of crazy pizza boxes on my vehicle and stuff. Like I've read about it. It's really cool. But for my first one for the home, I think I'd like to just get a nice tall antenna that something that I can grow into.
Well, Jeremy,
Yeah.
how much money you got, kid?
Right. So I mean, I'm thinking a couple grand, right? I don't know what a couple grand will get me in a radio that I can grow, or not a radio, just the antenna that I can grow into, but I need something tall because I'm in a dip in Davisburg, and so I'm sure if I could get 30 feet up, I think I could probably go a long ways. I would think.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, okay, I have some ideas. Actually, there's some stuff that you can get at Home Depot. They even have an antenna they'll sell you. But you got a chimney? Jeremy?
I have one of the, like I have like a gas fireplace. So I have like a fake wood, it's aesthetically, it looks like a chimney on the outside of my house. It's for the fireplace.
It's not an old brick chimney, though, is it? Oh,
No.
okay. Because if you had one of those, I'd recommend. Home Depot still has those things with the straps that go around the chimney. They're pretty easy to work with. All right, we'll get to that. We'll get to that.
Sorry.
I have a lot of
Yeah,
ideas that I sent you.
Yeah, and I promise you, Jerry, there's people in the club that will help you with ideas, and they're very likely will be people in the club that will help you to get things that will come to your house and help you get things installed. There's no guarantee of that because who's available when. That's a question mark for that moment in time. But I guarantee you, if you got questions, we will help you, get those answers to help you get what where your interests lie.
Right.
So don't give yourself heartburn over that. That's really an easy one.
Yeah. Okay, Kim, you had a question.
Yeah, I have a question. I mean, I guess first of all, it sounds like you're not in short supply of mentoring anyways. Now I have a question that I think you guys are just going to ask me a whole bunch of questions that I don't know the answers to yet, but at least it might help me figure out what I've got to ask. I was planning on just kind of doing this to have as an alternate method of communication, probably just getting one of those cheap handhelds, and I probably will still do that. But when I told my aunt that I was taking this class, she has my grandfather's old ham radio, and she's like, "Oh, you can have that." I don't know. I did ask her, "Hey, can you look at it and see what it's called at least or something?" And she's not there. Basically, it's somewhere in one of the Carolinas right now. I forget where she moved to, but I just remember it was kind of like a box that he had in his house back in the 1990s. So I don't know if there are things that you would tell me to find out if it's even worth getting it out here. Is it something that would be usable? Are there things that I want to ask her to find that out?
Well, the first thing you want to find out is what frequencies it will handle. If it's a if it's something like the ICOM 7300 that Jerry had up on the screen, that's going to be relatively useless to you as a tech because
Okay.
it's mostly HF.
Okay.
And so you're not going to be legally allowed to speak on any of those frequencies. You can listen all day,
Well,
but
no, you can
cannot-
use
you
six,
can't
six,
transmit on most of
yeah,
those.
6 meters and 10 meters, it'll
Right,
work.
right. But that's it.
So I want to find out
Mhm.
what frequency it is. I don't know if she'll be able to tell that from just looking at
Well,
it.
Get the label, the
Yeah.
brand name and the model
The
number.
model. Yep.
You can always find out the information for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and I do remember him talking all over the world on it. So,
Sure.
So
So-
chances are it's going to be a radio that you cannot use yet. If
okay,
he's
but
talking all over the world.
okay, but maybe it's one I could grow into.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
But
And,
it's probably not well, depending on the model and stuff, it may not be obsolete.
Right. Right.
Yeah, there's not a lot of from depending on what your definition of obsolete is. There are radios that are pretty old, and the people in the 1940s were talking on the frequencies that we're talking on today. If the radio is functional, then that's all you need. If it's a 2 meter and a 70 centimeter it's a dual band radio and it's 2 meter and 70 centimeter and it's from the 1970s, does it transmit on 2 meter and 70 centimeter? Can you hear? If the answer to those two questions is yes, then what's obsolete about it?
So it may be worth it may be something I would enjoy playing around with it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, there are certain things like I bought some stuff in the 1970s, and no, mostly nowadays you have the PL. I think we talked about PLs some time ago, or private line, or the CTCSS types of tones. Sometimes you need a tone to be able to trigger the repeater. If you have something that's so old that it doesn't have that, then you might have some problems.
Yeah, it's a valid point. I didn't think about tone, Jerry. You're right. Thank you for
Now,
bringing that
the
up.
one thing that I would say a word to the wise, because I wasn't. When you get newer stuff, get rid of the old stuff. After 60 years, this house is not going to fly off into space. It's weighted down too much. So,
Well, when I know that she's away for the next week, but she said she'll try to take a look at it. So when she gets a chance to look at that label and model number, I'll probably ask you guys because
Oh,
you'll know
sure.
more
Yeah, not a
than
problem.
I do at this point. So whether it's worth getting it traveled over to me in Michigan. So or
well,
transported to me.
is she in a vacation spots near Savannah or someplace?
I think she's with her kids right now.
Mhm.
She's got, another grandchild was born recently, so I'm sure she's helping there or something
Yeah.
like that. So
Okay. 'Cause,
so
I
but
know
yeah.
my kids are pestering me to move in with them, and said only if you put a 30-foot tower up for me.
That's a nice kid.
But my daughter might, because she has the license.
So you're moving in with your daughter.
I'm I've been living too long and independently. I don't know if I can do that. No, we'll see.
Yeah, you take things a day at a time, I think.
Exactly. exactly.
So, but yeah, didn't really expect that. I think she hasn't found anyone to give it away to yet. And
Sure.
when I told her, I just wanted her to get the license to be able to talk to her if I ever needed to. And she wasn't interested at all. But she said, "Hey, you can have this." So we'll
Yeah.
see. So
Oh, how old is she? Is in her 60s?
she's no, she's got to be about 70 now. So
Well, we've got people who have that old have gotten their technician licenses.
yeah,
But
I
9-year-olds too.
yeah. So yeah, so who knows? Who knows? But we'll take it one step at a time. I think first step is figure out what that label and model number says.
Yep.
So I
Sure.
appreciate that. That'll kind of help get me in the right direction. So
Okay. Okay. All right. As far as anything else, there a bunch of stuff that we can. I can talk about power supplies. That's what's left. Okay, let's get to power supplies and batteries. Okay. All right. First of all, automobiles operate at 13.6 volts or thereabouts. That's the standard voltage. So when you buy a power supply, you should have it set for 13.6 volts. Two different kinds of basic power supplies to use in the house, because you can hook the most of these radios directly into your automobile system. Two different kinds. One is, I'll call it a linear power supply, and that's the classic. It has a big metal transformer and weighs about 15 pounds. Or you have an electronic one, a switching power supply, which is about 3 or 4 pounds or thereabouts, and it's much handier. It's a little more complex, more parts in it, and sometimes as it switches, it's might produce an interfering radio signal. So there's certain brands that are pretty good, and certain brands that are not quite. Like Astron makes a wonderful power supply. They've done that for many years, but they're a little more expensive than some. There's Jetstream, which in my what every young ham should know letter. There's a place called RNL Electronics in Cincinnati that I recommend. They usually have some deals with some Chinese radios, TYTs, and things like that, plus a power supply for a good price. So anyway, these will produce the power. Some of the models even have a cigar lighter hole, so you can just plug it in rather than having to strip the wires out or anything of that sort. They also have these, who's this? Brain burp.
McPherson,
No,
what is it?
Bob, help.
I know what those are called.
I don't know. My power supply is an Astron.
Yeah,
Which,
they're
by the
quick.
way, which
they're
by the way,
quick
I've
connects.
used.
Yeah, they're quick connects, but what the brand, Anderson?
Oh, the Anderson Power Pole?
Anderson
Yeah,
Power
it's
Poles.
Anderson Power
Yay!
Pole.
Great, you win the Cupid doll.
Ooh.
Okay. And that was a kind of standardized type of connector that a lot of the emergency management guys will use. These particular models will operate up to 30 amps. And what kind should I buy? Well, if you're going to go visit 100 motel rooms in 3 months, then I wouldn't buy the 15-pounder to drag around in the car.
Yeah.
The small one is okay. And the Jetstreams go for anywhere from 100 or less than 100 to maybe 150. How many amps do I need? Well, I always say think ahead. Get enough that will power your FM mobile rig. And that should, for 50 water would probably take around 8 to 10 amps. But get one that is going to give you enough power so you'd be able to power an HF rig. That way you don't have to buy 2 power supplies. And you can get something in the 25 amp range that would satisfy everything. And usually you're not talking with 2 microphones, so you'll use one at a time. So that's what I recommend. And anything else? All right. These things have voltage regulation. From the Ohm's law that we've been doing. If you put a load on a power supply, it's going to draw current, and if you're drawing current, it's going to cause the voltages to drop down. And actually, if you have a long cord, say a 15-foot power cord from the power supply to your radio, that power cord is going to have some ohms in it, and it's going to drop the voltage down. So try to keep your lines as short as you can. Okay. But the only other thing, they make a big point of this, and usually have a question there. Put a fuse in the negative line. From your battery. Okay. Batteries. Why are short heavy gauge wires used? Because the voltage drop. Yeah, okay, so it's right in there. Negative power return should be in the negative line, and fuse should be in the positive and negative. Check with a dealer. You're tempted to drill a hole in the firewall of your car to get the wire through. Make sure you do it right. Make sure that you seal it right. You don't want carbon monoxide coming into the car. And okay, batteries. Well, when I was working with the 5th and 6th graders, I started off with a potato battery. How many of you remember the potato batteries?
Did one out of lemon, but I think it's kind of the same concept.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the lemon or the potatoes, the electrolyte, and I was able to find some copper nails, and then I used galvanized iron nails. So those were the 2 different terminals, and the electrons flowed between them. And then I took apart a 9-volt battery, and I found what looked like 6 small potatoes with the contacts and all that sort of stuff. So what they were doing, they used a certain type of chemical, a certain type of electrodes, and each of the cells produced 1.5 volts. alkaline battery actually produces 1.25 volts. So different chemistry. Of course, the king is the lead acid battery. It's rechargeable. It puts out a lot of amperage. That's why you can start a car with it. Thing is, if you're going to have a rechargeable battery, lead acid battery for your house, they recommend that you get a marine deep cycle battery because you can recharge it and it's not going to damage it. Of course, what happens with something that produces a lot of amps, if you short circuit that thing, you're going to weld. It's going to melt metal and hurt. Other rechargeables, well, lithium ions, a lot of radios have that. They had a big deal about those little scooter type things where the lithium ion batteries would catch fire. So just be careful. The coin cells, throw them away. Don't try to recharge them. Then nickel cadmium, nickel metal hydride, they're rechargeable. I remember when I saw one of the first nickel cadmium cells that were produced. A guy was passing it around for people to look at, and some smarty pulled out his keys and short-circuited. And you could hear, ow, as he dropped it because it heated up the keys too much. Don't try to recharge disposables. And carbon zinc and regular alkalines are disposable. They have a couple of new types. What is it? LiFO O plus or something like that, which are supposed to be even denser. They can be a lot lighter, but still put out
lithium phosphate.
Yeah,
LiFePO.
LiPo. Okay,
Or
and those are good. They're expensive nowadays, but I suppose in the future they'll be even cheaper.
yeah, the price is going down on them.
Okay, so that's
The technology is pretty excellent on them.
Mm-hmm. And there are some people. I know a guy who bought a FT718 or whatever, and a small transceiver, a lower power, and put it on his bicycle with a suitable battery, and he was doing mobile. So you can buy a battery pack that could do that for you. But that's beyond the scope of the course right now. So that's batteries, and that's battery well, not chargers, but power supplies. So
And if I could just throw something in here, Jerry, just something that I've learned over the past couple of months, because I've been with one of the pieces that I use the hobby for, which is emergency. You want to pay attention to the amp hours of the battery. If you're going to be running a radio off of it, you probably want something that's at least 30 amp hours. You can buy little batteries that, are, let me just grab one here and put it up on the screen, because I have it right here. And let me now share my screen, Rook, or share my video. Come on, mouse, work.
let me get out of screen sharing. I don't know if
I'm just gonna put it on my video, on there we go. So there we go. So this, this little battery here, this is one of the, it's not really in focus, is it?
That's a gel cell, isn't it?
No, it's a LiFePO.
Oh, LiFePO, okay.
Well,
Yeah,
you've got your background blurred out, so it wants to blur out just.
oh, well,
everything but your
let's
face.
alter that then. I see what you're saying. You're right. That is probably what's going on. So let's not blur. There we go. You're right. Very good. So this is, and this thing weighs, I don't know, 1.5 pounds.
Terrific.
It's very light, unlike the lead alkaline batteries.
Mhm.
This one happens to be 10 amp hours. I've run, an hour or two off of this battery. I've hooked this up to a solar panel and run all day, with this, and had no problems at all. But the amp hours is very important, because the batteries, you can buy a battery that looks just like this, and it's 1.5 amp hours. You're going to transmit for 15 minutes and it's going to be dead.
Can I ask how
So-
much something like that costs?
This, I believe, cost me $35. I
It's
just
getting into
bought a
affordability.
different one that's 30 amp hours, and it was, I think it was like $80.
All right.
The
That sounds-
more the amp hours, the more expensive it's going to be.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, how long does it take to charge them up?
This thing charges from nothing, from pretty dead to all the way up. I think it takes like an hour to charge,
Terrific.
maybe a little bit longer than that.
I remember the old NiCads where you'd take forever to charge, and if you got the voltage too low, you might be able. It might have a memory and wouldn't charge more than say a quarter of the way or something like that.
Yeah,
No, these new compounds are terrific on that.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So just pay
Mike.
attention to the amp hours of the battery is my whole point and all that. The higher the amp hours, the better. The longer it's going to last, the longer it's going to run for. This kind of battery with longer amp hours, it's going to give you like a slower trickle of energy, unlike your car battery, which is meant to give you a whole lot of power right now while I turn the key.
Mhm.
Because it needs all that power right now to start your car. And as soon as it's running, the battery's not working. You're running off your alternator.
Right.
You're running off just battery. And so it needs to be a slow trickle. So your car battery is not your optimal choice for a battery if you want to have, a setup that has battery power. So when your power goes out and you also don't have a generator, you still want to be able to transmit. You want to have the right battery to be able to do it the right way.
Yeah. Now, one thing ties back to the olden days, but electronic parts manufacturers, especially the ones that were making transformers and radio tubes and stuff like that, would have two sets of ratings. One set for commercial use, like a broadcast station, which would run really rough, and one for intermittent or amateur use, because they didn't think that the hands would be on the air all the time, or they'd be transmitting all the time. And actually, it kind of works that way with some of the emissions we make. If we're running, say, a single sideband or thereabouts, now the batteries, we're going to drain the battery at probably around 30% of the same amount of power that would be taking out of an FM signal, because the FM is a straight signal, it's on all the time. It doesn't vary according to the amplitude of our voices. So you'd get a steady drain rather than an intermittent peaks and valleys. Okay. Well, that's what I got. Oh, here's is MeshNet a replacement for packet radio? I would say not, because you have to have the mesh nets kind of interconnected. The packet radio actually would kind of relay around. You'd have various stations connecting to the packet radio network, and they would send to each other. So you wouldn't need a mesh net that would cover everybody who's got a computer that's tuned to it. So no, I think packet radio is just going to go by the by anyway. Too much other stuff. I don't know.
Just a reminder, Jerry, in case you don't realize you had stopped sharing.
Oh, okay, yeah. Okay, well, Echolink. We'll talk about Echolink when we talk about communications. That's voice over internet protocol, which is kind of interesting. Some people don't think it's radio, but we've got a guy coming into the weekly net from Thailand using it. So he couldn't stretch the rubber band on FM to get from Thailand to here. Okay, any last questions? All right. Anyway, thanks. You've been a good audience. I like it that people are willing to ask questions, and certainly willing to share. Okay.
Oh,
No.
it's 9. I didn't realize it was this close to 9 o'clock. This flew tonight.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me stop recording then.
I'm going to ask a quick question, but I'll wait